no, 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 no. Yeah, 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 no, 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 no. Melanated minds with the crown restored. ASIATIC truth that we cannot ignore. Honor to noble Drew Ali, we rise. Nationality reclaimed, open your eyes. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, the spark. No more strangers walking in the dark. Research first, let the facts ignite. Real Morse talk every week, truth over hype. This is knowledge, this is heritage, this is consciousness. Welcome to Real Morse Talk with your hostess, Prime Minister Duria Bay. Hey. Yeah, no, 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 no. Yeah, no, 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 no. Shadow hour. 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 You are now tuned into Real Morse Talk. Melanated glow, crown back on the throne. Asiatic spirit, yes, we finally home. Honor noble Drew Ali, we proclaim. Nationality restored, we reclaim the name. Yeah, yeah. Love, truth, peace, let it spark that fire.
Freedom, justice,
lifting hearts higher.
no more strangers.
We know our part.
Real Morse Talk,
Truth from the heart.
Real Morse Talk,
Truth from the heart.
Real Morse Talk.
That's right.
Yeah, na, 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 na.
Shadow hour.
Yeah, na, 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 na.
Shadow hour.
Yeah, na, 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 na.
Shadow hour.
Yeah, na, 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 na.
That's it. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. That's it. Rise up.
This is heritage.
That's it. Rise up.
This is consciousness.
That's it. Rise up.
That's your heritage.
That's it. Rise up.
Mela haven't been.
That's it. Rise up. This is heritage. This is consciousness with your hostess, Prime Minister Duria Bay.
All right, everyone. All right. I am so excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here. Real Morse Talk today. We are at episode 17. That's like so exciting for me that we have 17 episodes of Real More Talk. So, of Real Morse Talk. Excuse me, little tongue tied there for a second. My mouth's a little dry, so I'm going to drink some water. So, today we have an exciting show for you, and it's interesting because a lot of times people do not want to hear a lot of topics that we need to talk about in our Asiatic communities for our people. We need to talk about some of these issues on our Asiatic community, and so our topic for today is a mother's burden, and it's raising children alone in the melanated Asiatic community. And it's a real big issue in our communities. And so it came about. So, first, let me just slow down for one moment. And I want to give praises to Allah, the Almighty Creator, whom I choose to call Allah, for allowing me to wake up this rising in my right frame of mind with my good common sense, light, health, and consciousness, with the ability to stay on this road, what the Islamic road, because sometimes it's rough and sometimes it's smooth. On the conscious road, because it gets rough, it gets smooth, So anytime you're dealing with consciousness and walking the right path, there's always some type of challenge, and people always want to challenge you when you're walking that path. So I want to give honor to each and every one of you who found time to come on this podcast tonight and to listen on the sound of my voice, because what I'm talking about today is really valid, really important. So I want to make sure that we're all connected together in unison during this particular podcast. All right. And so when we had the week prior, we had a Mother's Day celebration the week prior for Real Morse Talk episode 16. And we had some interesting conversations in that particular episode. And so one of the things that we spoke about was one of the brothers, Madudi, was talking to the sisters and pleading with them not to take the brothers for child support, but one of the problems was, if we do not do that, then what is our other alternative? And one sister was saying that she used to travel 120 miles, one way back and forth, so over 240 miles a day to take care of her children. In the meantime, while she was away from home, who was taking care of her children? So this is a really important topic that we have to have today. And so I wanted to bring it to Real Morse Talk. It was a few people who wanted to comment on this particular topic, but the reason I didn't bring them in is because a lot of them are still in the unconscious state with that black and Christian thing. And listen, this is Real Morse Talk. I didn't want to have someone coming on that was talking about the black problem and the African American problem. And even though we know they're signifying us, that's not the language that we use to improve our society. So I didn't want to have somebody coming on with the whole black, 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 black thing. I don't want to expose my audience to that particular rhetoric, because you can get that on any of these talk shows. But what I really would like is some Asiatics of more descent who speak like I speak to come on and give this information. And the reason it's so critical to me, because in our financial literacy program, I wanted the children to get financial literacy from the Asiatic perspective. And so I used a couple of videos to have them watch, making sure that they watch the language and what they use, remembering that we're not the African Americans and we're not the blacks, but that's the language that they're going to use. But what I found out is, even with telling the student that, we still had students write in their notes about black and African American. So it really makes me nervous to bring someone on in front of the audience to use that language. I just don't want someone coming on with the whole thing we talk about is black, 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 black. And so we should be mindful as a conscious people that we should start having those conversations, making those videos for our children, also making those videos and having those conscious conversations with our children. so that we don't have to worry about someone else exposing them to the language, that language of that Black and that African American. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I would trust that you all share this information with others and have them come on. And even if you cannot see the live stream, I would like for you all to please share this video that we're going to be talking about today. So, a mother's burden, raising children alone in the melanated Asiatic community. Okay. So, my biggest thing is, what is a mother supposed to do when the father does not or is unable to take care of the children? Now, the reason that I put does not or is unable, because in a lot of circumstances, our men do not have the resources to sometimes take care of their children. Excuse me, let me sip some of this too. So sometimes they do not have the resources. Excuse me. The resources to take care of the children. So that's in some instances. And then a lot of times the father just walks away and does not want to have anything to do with the children. And I remember when I was younger, and I always love to tell these stories and take you on a journey with me, sort of like a comedian that takes you on a journey, a story, on a ride with them, and then they get to the final destination. So for me, when I was younger, I remember a lot of times, and you've probably seen an episode of Good Times, also when not the father in Good Times, not James, but James's father, when he pops up in Good Times, and he says he left the family because it wasn't enough food to feed everybody. And a lot of times, a lot of people use that excuse when they leave their family. But the interesting thing is they start a family somewhere else. So they'll say that they wasn't able to take care of that family. So they might leave the woman with 4 or 5 children with no idea of how those children are going to eat or how she's going to feed them, and then start a family somewhere else. And he starts a family somewhere else, and then you're trying to explain to the children that you had from the first marriage why you left. And a lot of times in modern day society, the fathers leave or they have no association with the children at all. So they do not even address the children, speak to the children, come around the children. A lot of times they don't want the children to be recognized. They don't want to associate with the children for whatever the thought is. They do not want to recognize their own children. And so that leaves the mother in a situation where she has to raise those children by herself. Now, the interesting thing that was said, Brother Madudi, when he said, do not take these children to the, child support, like do not put them on the government or the assistance. The thing is, and my question was, and my question is, and you can type it in the chat, if mother doesn't do that to feed our children and father doesn't want to do that, and we try to get him some mental health, now we're trying to take care of the father mental health, raise these children, and then the burden that I have on myself. So I'm double burdened by this man who doesn't want to take care of his children. So we're seeking answers here today, because my biggest thing is that we as a community should take care of our own children like we did back culturally. I think I might have shared that, way back in the day when I was dating this brother from the Ivory Coast, how affectionate his mother was, and how she even told me if I had children with her son, how she would either come here or I could come there, and that's what they do. Like the ancestors, not the ancestors, excuse me, the elders take care of the children. So they help the mother and father raise the children while they go out and provide for the children, the family, etc. So we have to put some type of modern day system in place to keep us from having to go to the government to feed our children. Because listen, if it comes out to whether you need to feed your children and clothe your children, or don't tell them where the father or who the father is, what are you going to sacrifice? What is it? Who are you going to sacrifice? Your children? Not being able to get any funds to feed them or eat yourself, or medical care or housing or anything. What happens to the children? And most of all, what happens to the mother too as well? So my questions that I put out today, because I love Brother Madudi and he sparked a thought process in my head about, I hear his plea, but I also hear what we as women have to do and how we're put in a position to take care of our families if no one else wants to do it. What are we supposed to do? And so my questions were, should we seek government assistance? Should we report the father to the child support services? What alternatives exist to feed, clothe, house, and protect our offspring? And how can families and communities rebuild support systems? Today on Real Morse Talk, that's what we're going to be addressing and talking about. And I welcome your comments in the chat, because I really want us to conversate about this. It's not all about my thought process. It's about the truth. The truth of the matter is, the prophet said that the Negro problem, because that's a Negro problem, that's an unconscious problem. The Negro problem is our problem. And it's being solved only as it can be. And through that's a more national and divine movement. So we can't really ask for other people to solve our problems. We have to solve our problems for ourselves. And El Malik El Shabazz in the Ballad and the Bullet, I always say this, one day I'm going to do an episode on that, because his born day was on Tuesday the 19th. As he talked about economics in our own communities, raising our own communities, he talks about all the things that we as melanated people do need in our own communities. He even speaks about how the man that's in our communities, if you go to buy some hair grease or hair brush or Afro comb or Afro pick in your communities, when you go, that fiat is going to another community. So we'll have people from different parts of either Korean or Japanese, Chinese, wherever they're from, they're running the stores, right? They're running the stores where we have to get product from. So they're from a different neighborhood in our community, running stores that we purchase things from. But at night, when the lights go out, they're not in our community. They're not putting the fiat back into our communities. And so that's a signal or sign to us. And listen more, this is not nothing new. This has been happening for generation to generation to generation. So my question is, where does it stop? Where do we stop this at? Where do we stop and say enough is enough? And we now need to take care of our family and our communities. All right. So, okay. So across our communities, many mothers are carrying the full responsibility of raising children without consistent financial or emotional or physical support from the fathers. That's the truth. You all can get angry at me or say whatever you want to say. It don't matter to me. The truth is the truth. And this is Real Morse Talk. We talk about real issues, real things here. There's a real issue in our communities. Some fathers are absent by choice. That means you don't desire to take care of your children. See, mother can't really just walk away from the children. Some mothers do, but most of the time, mothers are the ones that's left with that burden. And the interesting thing is, a lot of times, they're left with the burden and they're in their mother's house. So now they're at their mother's house, and the mother may still have some small children. They're at home with the mother, and they got their children that they're bringing in to be able to be fed and clothed and all of that. So she's got to take care of her children in the same household as her mother. And at this particular time, a lot of times, if families don't unite in thought process, there could be confusion in the household. which we know a lot of times as women, we want to go out and get our own place, have our own house and everything because we want to do what we desire to do. But a lot of times being home there, you need the support of your family, your mother, maybe if you have brothers and sisters, in the household, someone is there to help support you in that household. All right. All right, some brothers sincerely want to help, but are limited by circumstances. And that's the ones what I'm talking about. Is a lot of times brothers don't really have the fiat that they need to help support their families from whatever circumstances they've gotten themselves into. Or maybe they've been through school, been through college, done all of those things, but still cannot get a decent job. And we know right now with the way things are going, is making it even more difficult. So the situations are going to be more difficult. So sometimes the fathers just are not able to financially support the children. But meanwhile, no matter what is happening, mother has to find a way to support those children. So it don't matter what's going on with father, don't matter what's going on with her mother and other people and friends. She has to figure out, how do I get through today? How do I make it through today? Not even through the week. A lot of times, just how do I get through today to take care of my children, make sure that if they're at school age, if they're not they cannot afford a privately funded school, so more than likely they're in public school. They have to make sure that they're dressed because I believe they have uniform codes. They have to make sure that they fill them out on their free lunch program, which may not be the healthiest lunch for them because they sell garbage in the lunch programs. And I know because I used to be in food services at one time when I was working several jobs, worked at night at the hospital, in the daytime at the school, serving the lunches. I was the main one. I was the only all by myself serving the whole school lunch. So I know that they serve garbage, but my children carried their lunch to school. So, a lot of times we are in circumstances, and this is what we wind up feeding our children as well. So, tonight we will discuss the practical, lawful, and community based options available to mothers. The first principle is to protect the children. All right, so that's the first principle, is we have to protect the children. All right, and we protect the children by making sure that they're fed, clothed, they have housing, and they're safe in the house, education or erudition, which supports one another, emotional support, and protect them from harm. So we have to make sure that our children are protected, that no harm is going to come through their children from the outside. So if you're living in like a shelter or something, then you got to protect the children from the shelter. If you're living in a place where there's other people living in the home with grown men in the home, and unfortunately you have girls and boys or whatever, you got to protect them from adults that they have the wrong mindset. So the whole thing is you're always having to protect your children. And that becomes a challenge for mothers. She has now be always worrying about protecting the children. Okay. So with father's moral responsibility and lawful responsibility is, a father is both a moral and lawful support system for their children, for their offspring. The support they should be including is financial assistance, time and persistence, and being present, guidance, protection, and emotional stability. As a father, these are some of the things that you need to make sure that you are providing for the children. And a lot of times, if you cannot have the financial support, you should be there for the emotional support. You should be present. You should be there to assist taking them back and forth to school, making sure that they're getting their homework done, making sure that they're not giving mother a hard time. It's a lot of things that you as father can do if you don't have the finance to do it, to be able to support mother. But the question still remains, if you do not have the finance, where does she get the finance from? Because if she has to go out of her house to go to work over 8 hours a day, so let's examine this. In the rising, when you get up, you send your children off to school. So the school feeds them breakfast, lunch. So they're basically there all day. And then when they come home from school, you may have to feed them dinner, give them a snack maybe, and bathe them and put them to bed. Then you start the cycle all over again. And especially if you're a single mother, you're doing this every single day. And then you have to go off to work once you get them off to school and you're away from the home. So there is no support there. And then when you get off from work, you have to come home and help them with homework, cooking dinner, get them ready for bed and the next day. So I'm not sure why people think that motherhood is so easy and you don't do nothing all day, but mother's biggest responsibility is to take care of those children. Or if she has one child, doesn't matter how many children she has, whether it's 1 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, does not matter. She still had to take care of each and every one of those children. All right. A father who abandons their duties creates hardship not only for the mother, but for the child. So when you abandon the family, and then the children always want to know, well, what did I do? Why father didn't want me? I was listening to a rap artist. I want to get her name right. I don't. They call her Suki for short. I have to ask my son her whole name. But anyway, she was talking about how her father left her mother and had more children, and how he spent time with the other children, but didn't spend any time with her. So you can see what happened to her mentally. Because children, as I remember what Madudi was saying, I've heard this said several times, children will always remember how you make them feel. So how do you think she felt when she saw this father, the man who claimed to be supposed to be her father, where he spent no time with her, but he spent time with his other children? There's no emotional support. There's a disconnect. So then she grows up thinking she's not good enough. She grows up feeling like unwanted. She'll probably grow up with men mistreating her and abusing her because she felt like she was not worthy because her father did not want her. So this is a real serious topic here. The priority is not pride. It's not the pride of you being a man or the pride of you being a woman. So you cannot go get assistance. So you're struggling so hard and you have no help. It's not about pride. It's about the children. Stability of the children. Okay. Now, in certain circumstances, should a mother seek government assistance? I say yes. If she is struggling by herself and has no other revenue or source of income coming in, she should seek government assistance. She should seek that to take off the hardship and burden off of herself. Now, does she have to stay on it? Absolutely not. Once she's stable, maybe finds herself a good work, or the husband or the children's father steps in and gets a job and starts helping out and all of that, then you can change those circumstances. But when you're getting on that services, and it's unfortunate that we have to, it provides medical care. It may not be the best medical care, but it does provide medical care. In some cases, it provides housing. It also provides food. Okay, so the children will have shelter, they'll have food, they'll have education, and mother will have to try to make them as safe as she possibly can. So we have systems in place like SNAP, which is a food assistance program, WIC, and I know that they cut that program. I'm not sure by how much, but that's for women, infant, and children. That's a WIC program. that a lot of times mothers get on that when they're pregnant to get the proper nutrition for their children. And then also after the children are born, I think up to the age of 5 or something to that effect, they leave them on there to the age of 5 or 6, something like that, to make sure they're getting the proper nutrition in that they're supposed to have. They have housing assistance available, as I said earlier, where you can apply for different housing programs. They have child care subsidies. And what these are is they actually like pay people to watch your children. So say you find someone who watches children and they fill out a voucher, and this voucher is where they get paid by those government services to watch your children. And I know a lot of these programs are being cut, but these are things that we do have. And then we have energy assistance. And with energy assistance, it helps pay your electric bill, gas bill, or whatever. You know, if it's like really behind, they'll help you pay it for the month. So those are services that are out there. These programs are funded through tax systems and are designed to help families during periods of need. So that's what they're funded by. They're funded by people who do pay taxes. I know a lot of Moors do not want to pay taxes, and that's a whole nother story. But these programs are provided by people who do pay taxes. Okay. All right. All right. And so using assistance is a temporary thing. It's not a sign of failure. So when you're getting on these systems, you do not have to stay on them. You know, you can get on them temporarily just for a short amount of time until you get on your feet, as I spoke earlier. As some people wind up being stuck on the system because they have one child after another child after another child. All right. All right. So now, should the mother file for child support? This decision depends on the circumstances. I'm going to be very honest, because, you know, that's a really nasty thing in our society where men wind up killing the women because of it. So reasons to file would be reasons to file. So establish lawful accountability for your children, create a formal payment order, document non-support, secure medical coverage. Reasons to use caution would be if there is a domestic violence situation. We just seen an episode of Roland Martin where they splashed all these women in front of the screen. And it must have been over 200 women in 2 weeks had all been murdered by their spouses or significant others or whatever. 200 Asiatic women or more. This is what's happening to us. And several of them were pregnant because the father decides he doesn't want the children, and so he eliminates you and the child. Or either he's having an outside affair and he's married or in another relationship that he doesn't want that individual to find out about whoever he's dealing with, and then all of a sudden you become a liability. Okay. In contact, if you're getting into danger, if you're in danger, you need to contact someone to help you. All right. And one of the things to getting someone to help you is if you're in a domestic violence situation, you're going to have to make a plan where you're going to have to try to get out and protect yourself. And a lot of women are into that situation where they're not getting any assistance from the man. The children are not eating. You know, I mean, I know my mother was in a battered relationship for years that people do not like to talk about. But my mother was abused by my stepfather. So I know about all the domestic violence. I know about not getting the support that you need. I know I lived those things, and that's another topic. But just saying, if you're in those situations, then you have to proceed with caution, right? You cannot try to get out of those situations by letting the individual that's abusing you know what you're doing as far as trying to take care of your children. And so with that situation, then you need to get out of that situation. And so again, that is another reason why a woman would need help, because a lot of times your own community do not help you. I remember before my grandfather and my birth father approached my stepfather, my mother wasn't getting any help from her family. They was telling her stuff like, oh, sometimes women got to deal with those things. This was coming from women. What did you do to make him angry? All these type things. And I was a young child and I knew that wasn't right. What did you do? It doesn't matter how angry you may get as a man or a woman, you should never hit the other. You should never put your hands, because you have to remember that woman has family. She has brothers and sisters and mother and father, may be alive or not. But what really is interesting is a lot of times we try not to put our families involved. And the reason is because you can wind up getting someone hurt. When I was young, I seen brothers getting killed, trying to protect their sisters and things like that. So it's a real touchy situation with that whole domestic violence thing, and we'll cover that. That as a woman, you have to do the best thing for you and your children. All right. And it's not to stay there. It's an awful thing. I remember catching a train to Philadelphia, getting leeches for my mother to put over her eyes, because she was so battered and abused and her eyes were so swollen and she didn't want to go to work like that. I'm saying these type things happen in our community and we do not have the support. What I do like about what the Prophet Noble Ali did for the Moors, for the women, I remember Sister Mother Penny telling us this story that she had an abusive husband and the Prophet sent brothers there to remove him from that home. And he told her, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, he brought her the husband he thought she should have. So this is the kind of thing they did back then. But she was literally being abused. And brothers back then did what the Prophet said. They took care of those type of situations, because no brother should be beating on a woman. I mean, you're built stronger. Your physicality is not used to beat on us. And I know a lot of you all are frustrated, but we're not the punching bags. We're not the ones you should be taking the frustration out on. And the amazing thing is you won't take it out on that European because he'll kill you. And you won't take it out on another brother. So you take it out on us. And then because you feel like we cannot defend ourselves. And some women do fight back. They will defend themselves. So women do what they need to do for survival. We do what we need to do to take care of ourselves and our children. Okay. Mothers should also develop pathways towards independence. And this is the thing, budgeting your fiat. So I know it's not a lot that you get every month, but if the children have everything they need and you do not have to spend any fiat on them this month, then put that aside. Also look for some training courses that while the children are in school, if they're in the public school system, you should be in some kind of training program trying to better yourself, trying to get yourself a better situation. Maybe unfortunately, Job, just over broke. You may have to do that because you may not be able to do your own thing, or start becoming financially independent and creating your own work environment. Something that brings in revenue, something that brings in finance. All right. So those are just doing. Start with entrepreneurship. Start with saving plans and financial literacy, most important. A lot of our people are not financially literate. And what does that mean? That means take a program to teach you how to properly use funds, money, fiat, to teach you how to use it correctly so that you're not living paycheck to paycheck or week to week or being broke. So being financially independent. And these are some temporary assistance things, but I want to say something to the fathers. If you brought a child into this world, your responsibility does not end when the relationship ends. A lot of times, if you're with a girl, and I know when you're pregnant, the man break up with you So that gives them the opportunity to run around and do other things. Then as soon as you have the child, they come back to you, and then you're not pregnant anymore, but then you get pregnant again, and now you have another child on the way, and he breaks up with you, and it's like back and forth, back and forth. And it's just so ridiculous when we have to start thinking, if a man left you the first time while you were pregnant, why would you want to be with him a second time? So we have to start using our mind to think. Why would you put yourself in that situation again? And I have to say, sisters, we have to stop getting pregnant by men who do not even desire to be fathers. Most of them, a lot of them are immature. All they wanted was sex. They not ready to, settle down. They not ready to take care of any children. They don't take care of themselves. Barely, most of them live at their mother's house where you cannot bring the child. You hardly see any children born living in the husband's or boyfriend's house and the mother. They always bring it back to the mother's house. The woman's mother's house is where most of the time a lot of these children are being raised. And so it's just not fair, but you have to start thinking. If you get pregnant the first time, do not do that the second time and third time and repeat over and over again. I know when I had my first child, it was at Cooper Hospital. I never forget, the woman said to me at Cooper Hospital, she said it was a group of us. And she said, I'll see y'all all next year. European nurse. And I was like, I'm not sure who you're talking to, but you will not be seeing me next year, which I meant that. But they have in their minds that once we start having children, it's perpetual. We just keep having them and keep having them and keep having them. And then they feel like, and then they're on the system, and the system has to raise your children because we keep having these children, and they have to be raised and fed and clothed and taken care of. And it's a lot on the mother. And the fathers can get overwhelmed with it. So as women, our responsibilities is to slow down on having these children. And until you are ready to have children financially, we should be having a whole bunch of children. All right. But these are things that have to be taught to us because we do not know this. We think it's all right, cute, 15, 16 years old to have a child. We think that's normal for us because Mary, the mother, Miriam, her actual name is Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, had her first child at 15. So it seems like that's what we do. We 15 years old and we're pregnant and having children, and we still haven't even gotten grown mindset for ourselves. And so we're a child trying to raise a child. All right. All right. So children need a father that they can trust and a mother that they can trust. They need a good example of what a father is, a good example of what a mother is. They need those examples. They need support. And it's not always financial support, but like I said, with homework, with the issue that they're having in school, something to that effect, some maybe life challenging issues. They need to be able to call on a parent for support. But integrity is really important because I'm telling you today, the children have no integrity. Children will lie right to your face without blinking an eye. They lie right to your face. And I mean, I can see you doing it. Like I'm on the camera watching you cheat or watching you on a video game or watching you do whatever you're doing. And I have you face that challenge and you'll lie and say, oh, I wasn't doing this and that. Now I'm watching the screen flashed off your face. So it shows me what you're doing. But yet you'll say that it wasn't you or you didn't do it. They have no integrity. And it's our job to put that back in the household for our children. All right. We as a community, we must stop the condemning struggling mothers and making them feel bad about struggling, making them feel bad about being on the system. And that includes brothers too. If you're not taking care of your child, you can't say anything to the mother about being on the system. So we have to stop shaming our women for having children for being on the system. We have to stop making them feel bad about what is happening. Okay. The thing that I want women to do, and I think I would love us to, call webinars or call to action where we can get, because we're all universal, so spread out. We can start having seminars with young women and young men, having our brothers. We tried to do a group called the Doors of Drew Ali, which we still have, the Doors of Drew Ali. We're just not active like we should be. I always try to keep abreast of that. And we wanted to get the Sons of Drew Ali going, where the brothers were going to be out in the community talking to young brothers so they can stop becoming young fathers because they're so immature, keeping them out of trouble, going to jail, things like that, connecting them to our financial literacy program to help them become more financially independent, and want to have their own. And so I would love those groups to still get together. We still have the Daughters of Drew Ali, but we never got an opportunity to set off the Sons of Drew Ali. And that's Sons, S-U-N-S. That's what we wanted to do with the men, call them the Sons of Drew Ali, and be able to do community activities with our brothers and sisters. So think about that. All right. So some of the things before filing for child support, some of the things that we want you to make sure that you're doing is you have to have an honest discussion with the father. So you have to talk to him and say, let him know that if he is not going to be able to assist you, these are the things that you need to do to take care of the children. You have to have an honest conversation with him. Okay. Also, elders, if you need to get elders involved to help you all make these decisions, and maybe get into some meditation together, maybe journeying together, meditate, together and try to figure out what's the best new. Maybe a written support letter. The brother writes a letter saying that he will commit this much for support. And, if that's not enough, then at least the people know that he's willing to support the children, and maybe giving them a letter, of support will help. We also need community intervention, as I spoke earlier, and faith. A lot of times people say, oh, I don't want this religious thing. And you do not have to have the religious side of any organization if you don't desire to. But I know a lot of times religion gives perspective and foundation. And so a lot of times people need that to help them make good decisions. They go to their religious leaders and sit down and talk with them to get some support and thoughts of what they might do. Okay. So those are options. All right. When we strengthen mother, we strengthen the entire nation. And we know that when we're strong, listen, and we know the proof of that because the prophet Noah Jali said we fell so low that he had to pick us up from the murky ethers and put us back on a solid rock of foundation. Right. So that's the image on the front of the questionnaire. And that's what he's doing. He's building us up. Because he said when mother falls, the whole nation falls. So mothers, we have to get back up and get back into the right frame of mind with our good common sense. We have to get back into that right frame of mind again to be able to support our families. It's really important. All right, so and a power tonight. So the foundation I wanted to come from the Universal Declarations of Human Rights about what they said about the children that assembled on November 20th, 1959. Wow. So we're looking at 1959. So we're talking we're in 2026. So we're talking over 66 years ago or so. General Assembly on November 20th, 1959 said with the Declaration of the Declaration of the Rights of the Child the child inherits special rights, especially from the parents. So I want to go to the rights that I want to speak about, and you can highlight them. I wanted to speak about principle 2, special protection. This it makes sure that the children are entitled to adequate nutrition, medical care, housing, and opportunities to develop physically, mentally, morally, and spiritually and socially. If one parent fails to contribute, the remaining parents may not need to seek support from family, community, or public assistance to secure these necessities. What this means for mothers is raising their child alone. When a father refuses or is unable to help, the mother still has a duty to protect the children. This may include, for her, seeking financial assistance, applying for nutritional and health programs, requesting child support, accepting help from trusted family and community members, and pursuing employment or training opportunities. And we know we hate to say the word employment, but that is what employment is. All right, that's what employment is. And so, Principle 6 of the Declaration of Human Rights talks about a child needs love, understanding, security. Okay, that's what Principle 6 talks about. All right, it says the child, for the full and harmonious development of his or her personality, needs love and understanding. He or she shall, wherever possible, grow up in the care and under the responsibility of his or her parents. Now, this brings me to a lot of times when children are taken away from the homes because the Declaration of the Rights of the Child is not being fulfilled or used in those type cases. And so we know that it's there to protect the child. All right, this principle establishes several essential truths. Children thrive best when raised by parents. Parents share responsibility for their child's development. A child should not be deprived of support because adults separate. And you can't make the child make it all messy, where you putting the child against the father and talking terrible about the father, talking terrible about the mother. That's something that I never would catch myself doing. What good is it telling me trying to down my child's father? Or what good it would be for you to down your child's mother? Like, what is that? Trying to bring your child up in a split environment, which gives them emotional damage. All right. So we don't want to do that. All right. A child should not be deprived of support because of adults. Society should provide special assistance when families face hardship. Principle 7 talks about parents have the primary role for education and guidance. This declaration also states the best interest of the child shall be the guiding principle. Parents are expected to ensure their children will receive the things that they need to be successful, which again would be education, more instruction, emotional support, and they should be able to get that through their parents. All right. So in the Declaration's language, it makes it clear that parental responsibility continues regardless of the parent's relationship and status. So it don't matter if you all of a sudden you just hate the mother. What's amazing to me is you have this woman pregnant, so you had some relationship with her. Now all of a sudden you hate her so much you can't stand the sight of her, and so now you can't stand the sight of the child. It's just ridiculous stuff. I mean, all of a sudden you had a relationship with this woman. She got pregnant by you. All right, so now the child becomes both of your responsibilities. It's not just on one individual. And the father gets to easily walk away most of the time, and the mother does not. Okay. All right. All right. In the international human rights principles recognize that children have a right to parental care and support, with obligations to fathers, mothers, and communities. Have one parent abandoned that responsibility? All right. So my discussion for you is: should mothers seek government aid and responsibilities? And you can put that in the chat, your response. I'm going to go to the chat in a few moments. And I want you to vote on that. I mean, speak on that. And when should child support be pursued? How can communities better support single mothers? What responsibility do fathers owe beyond money? How can young men better prepare for fatherhood? Those are questions. I'm going to go to the chat really quickly. I'm going to take a sip again of my tea, and I also have some ice water. Just have a little sinus headache here. So, trustfully, I'm not too off because I want like to stay, have everything together, regardless of whatever else I may be feeling. This is really important. So, I'm going to go to the top of the chat. And if any of you all was able to answer any of those questions for me, I'll repeat the questions. My questions to my audience is: should mothers seek government aid when necessary? When should child support be pursued? Should mothers seek government aid when necessary? I said that one. How can communities better support single mothers? What responsibilities do fathers owe to the child other than fiat currency? And how long, and how can young men be better prepared for fatherhood? Those are questions that I have, if you can answer those. So let's take a look. Lady Thurl. All right, Shukran, Lady Thurl. Shukran, I'm glad you made it today. It's so good to see you. Islam. All right, that's from Sheikh Bilal Amin Bey. And then A. 2334. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islamism more as Muslims. Okay. And then let's take a look. I have to grab my glasses. They fell on the floor so I could read better, especially with this sinus headache. All right, praise Allah, supreme honor to the holy and divine prophet Noble Drew, born January 8th, 1886. All right, North Carolina. All right, and that's always Brother Lee Bay 2334, always posts reminding us who our prophet is. All right. All right. And then he's telling about the 14th Amendment non-federal identification documents, 1857, the Dred Scott slave name, the additional sigil of the 14th Amendment non-federal identification, the Social Security number, 1925. All right. And let's see. All right. Then he got nationalities, citizenship, estates, corporations, courthouse, bank house. I'm not sure, like when he's posting that, is he giving us, I guess, a lesson on the information? All right. And then we have the add up more 7. All right. And he says, as a father myself, I believe it's mandatory to find a way to communicate something can't be grown enough to have them and unable to take care of them. Embrace responsibility and don't run from it. And I agree with you, Mo. Add up more 7. And that's the kind of conversation I would like to have with Morris, who are like a live discussion with us talking about this, a live discussion back and forth, because it's so important. But the thing is that if father decides not to take care of them, as you stated in there, they should. But if they decide not to, my question to you is, should that mother seek aid from the government, because she doesn't have any other way of taking care of her children? So I don't want us to run from that question. I want us to answer that question honestly. Let's see. All right. There's no longer a village for child rearing. You're right. And it should be. We should still have that. It takes a village to raise a child. When I was coming up, that's what was told. And like you heard some of the sisters say on the call the prior week, with our family, we had, if the babysitter got the call or the neighbor that we were misbehaving, we got disciplined, spanked, whatever she decided to do, knock us upside our head from the babysitter, except for Oh, can I? Miss Earlene. Was that her name? I think so. Antoinette's mother. I think it was Miss Earlene. She's the one that did not really like to spank you. She would if she had to. But our neighbors had the permission to discipline us if we did something wrong. Then you got discipline from the mother, and then you got discipline from the stepfather. My mother, she didn't really like to spank that much, but she would leave it to my stepfather, and he was horrible. And so a lot of times that would be how you got disciplined. So you would think about that. Do you want to carry out acting like a fool so you can get discipline from several people? That's a good question. Or would you say, I know the consequences for those actions, so I'm not going to do that? All right. Sheikh Bilal Amin Bey, Islam Prime Minister, yes, the children should be given those things necessary for their growth and development. All right, Sheikh Bilal, again, let's be realistic. The mother most seek help from whatever the mother must seek help from whatever source she can get it from. The children are a part of humanity's lifeline. All right. Miss Jazzy, 1960, grand degree prime minister. A mother's first and foremost responsibility is to the welfare of the child, and that means having to seek government aid. Then she should. I agree with you, Miss Jazzy, 1960. All right, Sheikh Bilal, she has to seek aid if she is not getting from the father. It is necessary act. Sheikh Bilal Amin Bey. And I think a lot of brothers who were raised by single mothers can attest to that. They're grateful that their mother had to get some type of assistance so they could eat and clothing and all those type things. And listen, a lot of those governmental plans have things like housing. I know one sister used to pay $7 a month for housing for her and her 4 children. Some of them have to pay no dollars. Now, the houses, is that in the best condition and best neighborhood? No, we know they're in the projects and those things. But because you're raised in those environments, do not mean you have to become a product of that environment. And so with that, what she was able to do financially was put away fiat. Now we know Europeans do it too. It's called subsidy when they get it. It's called welfare when we get it. Same things, they get subsidy and get more fiat than we do, more food stamps, all that. We know that to take care of their family. Matter of fact, their husbands be working contract jobs that they do not report, and they live better than we can ever live because they do those type things. But we need villages, and I'm not suggesting that anyone go through any of those things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you examples. But we as a people should first be able to assist that sister. And this is the thing. We have to stop having children when we're unprepared. And so that's what's happening. You're having unprotected sex. You don't even really know what sex is most of the time. Definitely don't know what love is. You get pregnant now. You're a mother at 15, 16 years old. You have to raise this child by yourself because the father wants nothing to do with the child. And I'm telling you, I've seen so many times that after you have the child, they come back around after the child is born. But the whole time you're pregnant, they don't want to be there. And you take them back in, get pregnant again, same cycle over and over again. So we have to break those cycles. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So a mother should not have to choose between her pride and feeding her family. She should never be put in that situation. When the father fails to assist with the care of the child, the community must respond and must do it with compassion and help the mother build some character and stop trying to tear her down. All right, the children need to be able to trust you. Trust your family, trust your mother, trust your father. They should be able to trust. And the welfare of the child, as the sister said earlier, Miss Jazzy, 1960, should always come first. The welfare of the child, okay, should always come first. All right. I'm just going over my notes, making sure that I cover everything that I wanted to cover from the notes before I get a little bit more into it. So I want to say that the child for the full and harmonious development of their personality need love and understanding. They shall, wherever they go, and grow up in care and under the responsibility of their parents. This establishes that the children thrive best when raised by their parents. They do, they thrive better. Parents have responsibility for their children's development. A child should not be deprived of support because adults separate. I have to say that over and over again. Society should provide special assistance when families face hardship. And so let me speak about that for a minute. So the prophet gave us in the Quran social duties. And I like to always come, from this circle 7. A lot of you all should, everybody should have it. If you don't, you should get one. Social duties. I believe it's Surah 33 in the Quran. My mind is aging a little, but I think I still have most of my thoughts. So let me see. Holy instructions. Let me see. It says the 33 is gratitude. So that would not be social duties. So I want to read our social duties as we're talking about. I apologize. Social duties is Surah 30, not 33. All right. Surah 30 is social duties. I was close, though. I was in the 30s. I was close. All right. All right. So I want to come from Surah 30. Holy instructions from the prophet, the social duties. And like I said, a lot of the language is archaic. So what you can do is, if you want to update the language to get yourself a better comprehension of the actual information, you can always do that. It has, let me see how many ayats I have here. I always like coming from this book. It is 7 ayats. It says, when thou consider thy wants, when thou beholdest thy imperfections, acknowledge his goodness, O son of humanity, who honor thee with humanity, endow thee with speech, and place thee in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps and mutual obligations, protection from injuries, the enjoyments of the comforts and the pleasures of life. All these thou owest to the assistance of others, and couldst not enjoy but in the bands of society. If it is thy duty, therefore, to be a friend to mankind, as it is thy interest that man or woman should be friendly to thee. As the rose breathes sweetness from its own nature, so the heart of a benevolent man or woman produces good works. He or she enjoys the ease and tranquility of their own breasts, and rejoices in the happiness and prosperity of their neighbors. He or she, or you can say they, open not their ear unto slander. The faults and the failings of men or women give a pain to their heart. Their desire is to do good, and the researcheth out the occasions thereof, and removing the oppression of another, they relieveth themselves. From the largest of their minds, they comprehendeth in the wishes and the happenings of all individuals, and from the generosity of their heart, they endeavor to promote it. And that's what it's telling us with our social duties. And basically what it's saying is that in our social circle, it's our responsibility to gather with our neighbors, band together in society, look after each other. Don't be criticizing each other. Don't be just trying to get into each other's business and causing confusion, but to get together as a people and band together socially. And so these are lessons that's given to us by our holy and divine prophet, that we need to make sure that we're following these lessons. So I have neighbors that are across the water. You know, they're still neighbors because we live in a band of society. And now in this electrified age, we can send each other texts and emails and things like that to help uplift ourselves. We can actually do that. All right. All right. So I wanted to read those social duties to you all. All right. All right. So I still would like some of you all to post in the chat, give me some information on what you think about, on some of these topics that we're talking about. So now we're talking about Principle 7 and the rights of the child. And that declaration also is the best interest of the child should be the guiding principle parents are expected to ensure their children receive. Again, education, moral instruction, emotional support, protection, and preparation for responsibilities. So that's what we should do. And listen, when we talked about, I think it was the week prior, we read the chapter on the obedience of children towards their father. I believe it was Sword 23. And we talked about how the child bends with the wind. Like 1 minute they may be happy and jumping up and down, the next minute they may be sad or upset about something, and they're unstable. They're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's our responsibility to build them up, to keep them straight, standing up straight. And in a workable society, there cannot be a society where I'm talking to you on this line and then I get off of this line and I'm dogging out every brother and taking into account what may have been said, what has said, what may have been said. I'm not doing any of that. I'm simply just being negative towards my brothers and sisters. That is not how you build society. And I want to give you an example. I was watching Club Shay Shay, which I don't really care much for that whole Shay Shay thing. I don't like that Shay, Shay Shay. That sound doesn't sound right, like a grown man should have a show called Club Shay Shay. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. No proof of the truth. But I was listening to Cat Williams, is one of the comedians that I admire most. I love Cat Williams, but I was very disappointed. There was a 2024 interview with Cat Williams. And in that interview, he was dogging almost every Asiatic comedian. And he was saying how European comedians and Europeans are his friends, but he had so much problems with the Asiatics. And I was so floored by that. I was like, what in the world would make you come on that TV show talking about speaking truth, and all you doing is dogging every comedian out there, brothers, because you have to, except for the ones that come out of your tutelage. You, other than that, you dogging everyone else. And I was so disappointed, and I was telling Sheep, but we have to watch this, because I didn't even get to finish watching the whole thing because I had to stop, because I'm not one that like a lot of negative energy towards our brothers and sisters. We have a lot of fault. It's a lot that we do right, wrong, that we're still learning from. And it's unfortunate that we're still learning. That part bothers me so much, that we're still actually learning. It's like we have not gotten it together yet. Some stuff we're still learning. But the bottom line is, we're not going to get anywhere by bringing our brothers and sisters down. And people call it the crab syndrome, where, one crab is pulling in the other cat. What's happening with that syndrome is, people get that wrong. The crab is trying to get out of the hot pot. That's what, and so he's grabbing on, or she's grabbing on to the people that are trying to get out too. So they're trying to get out with you. They're not trying to get back in. See, when people say that crab syndrome is backwards, because think about it, the crab is in that hot pot of water. And so they crawling their way out of that pot. They're not trying to bring the other crab in with them. They're trying to hold on to that crab to get out. So the crab syndrome, I don't mind. If someone's trying to get out of a situation and they try to get me out too, I don't have a problem with that. But a lot of times we think we take things and run with it instead of thinking about it ourselves. Why would that crab want to bring you back into the hot pot? They're trying to get out themselves. The only reason they're grabbing on you and clawing onto you is they trying to get out with you. They're not trying to go back in there with you. They're trying to get out. But that's what they want us to think, that mentality. And so if you're trying to bring other people out of a situation with you, I'm all for it. I don't want to see you putting people down into a situation when we've all had our times in life. All of us have gone through challenges in life and done things that are challenging, and all of us, we don't have squeaky clean records. We've all done things in our life that we're going to have to, answer for. But when you know better, you do better. And that sticks with me, what the prophet said. When you know better, you do better. And so we should know better. So now let's take this situation that we're in. How can you go back in a community that you live in right now and set up some type of program or create some kind of flyer to set up some type of assistance program to help expecting mothers? Not only educate them about their pregnancy, if they're pregnant, but also educate them about not getting pregnant and the conveniences of not getting pregnant and how you have your whole life ahead of you. Your whole life ahead of you to have children. But first, take care of the things you need to take care of. Get yourself stable. In a stable environment to live, a stable work, whether you're working for someone else or yourself, find some stability in that. We have to have educational programs, open educational programs for the brothers and sisters. And I would like the Daughters of Drew Ali, I put it out there one more time, to assist in that, helping and go to the communities, because we can do literature and send literature and, all of that, and try to raise awareness for young women. Also for the young brothers, how to be more responsible, not to have 2, 3, 4, 5 children all under one age, 3 or 4 women pregnant at the same time. All that kind of stuff. Is nothing cute about that. It's dysfunctional. And it's saying that our society is dysfunctional. And we have to do something to fix that. So by the time a mother's 21, she got 5, 6 children at 21 years of age. And she's got to try to learn how to take care of those. That's having step after, baby, we call them stair steps, baby after baby after baby after baby. And then the baby that you have first is now almost at childbearing age, where they are having their baby. So you got mother having a baby and the child having a baby at the same time, which I never cared for that. My mother and my grandmother did that with my uncle. I never forget. We were the same age. My uncle, he was born, I think, the same year as me, and we're the same exact age, but we shared that for a long time, that we were both born on the same day. I don't think he was born the same day. Maybe the same time era. I would have to ask him, but I know that he was my uncle and he was the same age as me. So that shows you how when we're having children, how that happens. A mother and a child should not ever be pregnant together. For me, I do not think so. But again, that's my opinion. All right, I'm going to go back to the chat because I did put a couple questions out there for you all. And I wanted to see if anyone will be answering those questions. All right, so let's take a look. There's more in the chat. I think it's from Lee 2334. And it says 1920, the League of Nations founded at Paris, France. Okay, 1945, the United States, the UN founded at San Francisco. Okay. World governments have national decent names. All right, so I'm not reading out the whole thing. You all probably can see it in the chat, the things that he's saying. He's always giving an educational information as we're here on Real Morris Talk. He's always giving us information about always saying focus on the prophet and the movement, which I love that. He always says focus on that, the prophet and the movement. Always saying focus on that. So I do love that he does that and keeps it in the chat. So for those who want to continue to read that information, just please continue to do so. All right. All right. So I wanted to go to, so the International Human Rights says that a child has a right to parental care and support. What obligations do fathers, mothers in the community have when one parent abandons that responsibility? In the chat. Okay, so that's my next question for you all to assist me with is what is the community's responsibility? What do you think as a community we should do when this happens in our communities? What should we do when this happens? And that's what I'm talking about, building community, for us building community for our because listen, we should not have to go to another government to take care of our own. But because we do have to as a community, what is our responsibility? So to keep us from having to do that, what should we do? Because I know a lot of people be like, oh, that my fiat ain't for no taking care of nobody else's baby. Why should I help them? I'm sure I could hear. I have my antennas covered, so the transmission is not signaling me that negative energy. But I could also hear a lot of people who claim to be Moors already putting that negative energy out about not helping for whatever reason, instead of saying we should help, we could help. I know I saw on, I think it was on a YouTube or maybe first Facebook, where I believe that Sheikh Prather Ill, Grand Sheikh Prather Ill, and a group of Moors opened a community center in Baltimore. And I'm going to look into that because I want to know what type of programs do they have for the youth. Because I don't know if a lot of you all remember when you were younger, they had, I know, let me tell you how I was so excited as a child when, I never forget, before my 8th grade prom, it's just we had prom, 8th grade graduation prom, 12th grade graduation prom. I'm came up in Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, and we did all those things, and it was exciting for the children. But anyway, my Aunt Betty, she had did my hair and my nails and all that. She was like, "You're not wearing your hair covered. You're gonna wear your hair out for prom." And this beautiful dress I had, and I was all, but I said, you know what? So until prom come, it was this other little Italian boy in the neighborhood who always challenged me on everything, running track, playing basketball. He was always trying to challenge me and not thinking good sense in my head. So I went to go to the gym because the school was open and our school gym was used as a recreation center. And I went there. I had did my nails all up and everything. I went to go play basketball. No, shouldn't have known better because he was younger than me. So of course he wasn't going to his graduation or prom. So anyway, I went there to play volleyball, and I beat him unmercifully, but not at the risk of sweating out my hair and breaking my nails. Oh man, I was such a mess before I know, and I was so into the adrenaline, I didn't realize what I was doing to all the hard work my aunt had did to get me ready for my prom. So, because we had those type of activities, we had recreation centers, we had block parties, we had those things where children could go and let off steam, get things out. We ran. We did all those things. We ran track. We played soccer. We played volleyball. We did calisthenics. We did all those things when I was a child. And then as I got older, I had noticed that they started taking away these things, and I was asking why. And they were saying because the ASIATIcs were not filling out census, so they felt no need for the community centers. And they've been taken away from us ever since. But I'm just showing you, as a community, that was someone else putting that out there for us. Can we not, as a community, put that back for ourselves? Get our children off these video games and back to physical activities where they can do these things, like playing football, basketball, volleyball, soccer, doing calisthenics if they want to, doing the boxing. We had a lot of young brothers that did boxing, all those type things to keep us active. Now, most of our children are passive all the time. All right, so I'm going to go back to the chat. Miss Jazzy 1960s. We are our brothers and sisters keeper. Yes, we are. Buy goods and for, let me see, buy goods and for tea. 8356. What really was the Moabite made for just not only to make children? Wait a minute, say it again. What really was the Moabite made for? Just not to only make children only? All right, so I think your question is asking me that is that all we worth? Is just to make children? No, we're here to support and provide the children and be a helpmate to our husbands or our consorts, if something like that, call or whatever. So we're not just here to be pushing out babies. That's not what we were designed and made for. Beautifully and wonderfully art thy made. I'm not here just to be pushing out no babies. What about cooking? You know, I'm here to make sure things will stay clean and cook and create, you know, clothing and literature, support my husband and the things that he needs to do. But even if you ask that question, if she's only here to produce children, who's supposed to take care of the children that she produced? And how are they supposed to be taken care of? Is a better question. All right. All right. Bilal Amin Bey says, well, my mother used to assist the women they met in our community, advice and food aid. She taught by example, showing what could be done in difficulty. All right, shukran for that. So your mother was a true Muslima who she felt her responsibilities was to make sure she shared and taught others. Okay. And so again, you know, my question for the audience is, the International Human Rights provides recognition that children have a right to parental care and support. What obligation do fathers, mothers, and communities have when one parent abandons that responsibility? Come on, you all, talk to me. All right. Give thanks, my good sister, for your answer. Okay. Well, you're more than welcome, my brother or sister, whoever asks that question. But I just do not want anyone to think that that's all we are doing is to stay barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. And I had a brother attack me like that one time. His name was Madi. I'll never forget. In Pennsylvania, we were working a case together. And anyway, he said to me, he did something that wasn't right on the case, to make a long story short. And I was correcting him on what needed to be done to get this particular brother from being incarcerated. And he got really angry. Instead of listening to me, it's like I was a woman. I needed to shut up and be quiet and listen. He said, my only responsibility was to be barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. And so I said to him, all right, I don't mind being barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen, because if I'm barefoot in the kitchen because my feet hurt and swollen because I'm carrying this wonderful life inside of me. So I don't mind being barefoot in the kitchen. I don't mind being pregnant because I'm bringing life into the world. And I do not mind being in the kitchen because I'm in there creating chemistry and cooking and about to feed others and myself. So I'm not insulted by you saying I should be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen and tell me to shut my mouth. I said, but I can do all of that and you cannot, brother. You cannot be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen creating life. You can't do what I can do. So how dare you tell me to shut up? And I'm very versed with the law. That's why I'm here. They sent for me to come here because you were not doing your job on the case. So they sent for me. And here I am. And I'm trying to get us to work together because we're talking about another individual's life. We're talking about someone who's incarcerated, and it's up to us whether he stays incarcerated or gets out on the other side. And so a lot of brothers have that mentality about us being barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, just having babies, just pro-life, but creating life. But all the life we creating in barefoot pregnant in the kitchen, who is going to help us take care of that life that we're bringing into the world? Because someone has to raise those children. They cannot come here without someone being there to assist them in their journey. All right, it says we are supposed to, this is Miss Jazzy 1960. We are supposed to fill the gap whenever it's needed. That's right. We're supposed to fill in the gap. And so what I'm suggesting, because I know Miss Jazzy 1960, you and I have talked and talked and talked, and there's things that we want to work on as far as the school is concerned. But listen, if we have our own children in our own schools and we're teaching and training them in our own schools, in our own society of things to do, like I have right now in our school, we have our crochet circle called the Threads of Determination. And I just met another young sister today, and I invited her and her children, daughters, to join our circle. And in the Threads of Determination, we're creating projects by crocheting. And listen, we can do knitting, we can do sewing. I mean, they know they can do any of those things in this circle. What we're doing is learning how to be economically dependent, creating things. Like people love crocheting. When I go out and I be wearing my hijab, a lot of times I wear this hat that I made to go with a purse. And so I have my hijab on and I'll, fancy up the little hat crocheted in the purse. And I get stopped every time. People ask me, did you make that? Where did you get that? That's so beautiful. Europeans will stop and touch you. And I have to stop them from touching me, but they so amazed by when I say that I created it or made that. Those are the things that we should be doing. So we should be training and teaching how to sew, how to cook, how to crochet. So our daughters and sons will be well prepared to take care of themselves. The next thing we're doing in our school is, I know that some of the sisters started to this year with growing, because we used to do that when we first opened in 2015. We used to do the garden with the seeds and all of that, but then it became more difficult to get the seeds and dirt to the parents and etc. and them keeping up with the plants. So we stopped that for a while, but some of us said we're going to go back to that, raising your own food in your own backyard. You can raise your own food in your backyard. Tomatoes and cucumbers and things that we eat on a daily. You can create those things in your own backyard. And so we have to provide food for ourselves. We have to keep shelter for ourselves and our children. So whatever it means we need to do. If father's not supporting and you do not want to leave your children in someone else's hand to raise, and I listen, I know that a lot of us do not want to do that, then you have to seek aid and assistance until we can do better. Boys, we need to do better so we do not have to send our young sisters and brothers to someone else for assistance. All right. All right, let's go by good sort. All right, says we are supposed to fill it. Okay, so those are the last of those comments. So Morris, one of the things it says, can the Asiatic get back being like how the Amish are living, which they learn it from Moors? Where do we get our funding like that the Amish do. So the Amish people get what's called government funding. But not only that, they take their own fiat out their pockets and raise funds. They have a like donation, like say the prophet created a fund for us to pay our dues and all those things to raise fiat. They are responsible when they're born in their communities. They're responsible when they get a certain age. Those children start working. They become responsible. And they put the fiat back into their communities. So they're paying like people pay tithes to the church. They're paying into some type of fund to keep the things going in their community, so they don't have to worry about food, clothing, or shelter. So those are some of the things that they're doing in their communities that I know about just from communicating with some of them, by work or by outside source. And that is what they tell you. They fund their own, but they do have a lot of government funds. So you would have to go to the government and get funding, telling them, what the fund is for, what it's about. And one of the reasons why we do not use government funding is because when you start using those funding, then they infiltrate. They tell you how to, run your school. You have to become to an accredited board that they choose. You have to teach what they want you to teach. And so you don't not have any freedom to educate your children the way we desire to be educated. So that's the reason why we don't do government funding here. Not that we wouldn't like to have some funding to help us, increase the payroll of our instructors, to increase our enrollment of our students. But the way that we could build this society that we in, send your children to this school and pay your tuition every month. That would help build us. But because we again have a society of our own, or a school of our own, we do not support. And because we do not support our school, then we're running on low fuel. And that's kind of how we do things. So you could look up, and even today with AI, you could type it in AI. How does the Amish get funding to run their farms and things like that? And AI will tell you. I don't have no reason not to tell you. I want to drink some more tea. I haven't even drank my cold water yet. I'm just so thirsty. I need to drink the water though. But here on Roll Moore's Talk, you'll always see me. I'll have my tea that I share with y'all, tea and water. And you all are welcome to do exactly the same thing. Have tea and water with me. My ice has melted. I want to drink some of my water. Oh, that felt good. All right. So with our subject today, and we're talking about it, this was a subject, as I said, that came about when I had the episode 16, and my very, very dear good friend, love him to life, mentioned how devastated he was when the government came after his bank account. And we're not sure of the circumstances of why they did come after his bank account for child support, because he said he was already taking care of his children. So the thing is, if you're already taking care of your children, if you're paying into taking care of your children, if you're giving the mother the fiat, what you're supposed to do is keep receipts. And what happens is the letter I spoke about. So I spoke about earlier that you can write a letter or come to an agreement. So I wanted to make sure that we know that we can have that together. We can do letters. We can write, you can even write offering financial support letters to the so-called government or social services or child protective service or whatever they call it. What is it called? He said it was child support. And you can write letters to them, letting them know that as a father, you do financially support your child or children, and you can show proof. And they will not take your fiat for child support. If you can show proof that you're taking care of that child, it may get the mother in trouble if she's falsely, giving information, but she shouldn't be giving false information to the government. You don't want to give those people any reason to put you in a dungeon, especially raising your children. So there's things that the father can do. If you're a father that's out there and you are supporting your children like you're supposed to, and you're still being hit with child support and they're coming after you, you need to write them a letter. Write them a letter and give them receipts on you taking care of your child or children. And when you do that, they will reevaluate the situation, brothers. So I just want to let you know that we're here to support you too. But we just find that most of the time, a lot of you leave these children behind. And listen, I think it was, let me see, this is 2026. So I want to say in 2020, I never forget the boost I saw in men spending time with their children. I saw brothers pushing strollers. I saw them spending time playing with them at the playground. I mean, it was beautiful to see. Their brothers were starting to take an active role in their children's lives. And listen, as Moorish Americans, Asiatics, conscious Moors, or melanated individuals altogether, our brothers and sisters from any side, because we're universal. People listen to us from all over. We cannot let another people raise our children. So we have to take the next step. And listen, I sent the unity letter out and I spoke about this several times. And if anybody wants a copy of the unity letter, we always tell you, you can go email us at realmorsetalk@yahoo.com and we'll send you a copy of it. I have no shame in the letter of what I sent out. We can send it out again. We asked all Asiatic people, from different nationalities of Asiatic people to come together as unification to try to solve this Negro problem that we have. Because we know, like I was watching a show that was on TV and it showed people that they consider, Hispanic. I don't like to use that term, but a lot of people, them use that term for themselves. But we know they're Moors. But a lot of them do not know that they're Moors. But anyway, we saw some of them was so deep olive, they was darker olive than I am. So we know that a lot of them escape and they don't want to be Moorish, and a lot of them do want to be Moors. Some of them do know that they're Moors. But I'm just saying that we come in all various shades. The prophet said a Rotarian complexion, which means we come from the lightest of olive to the deepest of olive. So we know we have brothers and sisters all over. I got into a discussion with one sister one time. There's a sister from Panama who her mother is Panamanian, and she's on the lighter side of the Panamanians. But, she wanted to be accepted as a Moor. She wanted people to know that she was a Moor, that she did not associate with the European, that she wanted to be, known of her Moorish heritage and how the Panamanians connect to the Moors. And so the prophet gave us, if you look at chapter 25, not 25, I apologize. It's called, let me see, the divine origin of the Asiatic nation. I want to remind us of who we are really quickly, because a lot of us don't realize that we're not just the ones here. So it would be the divine origin on page 57. Divine origin of the Asiatic nation. And it's a very short story. It's only 7 ayats. It says divine origin of the Asiatic nations. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America, which is us, need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instruction of all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. The Moors, who were the ancient Moabites and founded the holy city of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and are direct descendant of Mazarine. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese. The Hindus of India, the descendants of ancient Canaanites Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the North Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentines, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The prophets letting you know, whether they claim it or not, that's who they are. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the United of Islam by the command of the great universal creator, Allah. So, as you can see, the prophet breaks it down. And that's why he tells us very few Europeans on earth in the first place. Now they're saying that we are the majority now. We've always been a majority. Is that half of the nations that are Asiatics do not accept themselves as Asiatics because everybody wants to be Europeans. Everybody wants to associate with the Europeans. They want to live the European lifestyle. And what is so great about their lifestyle that you don't want to be yourself? And the prophet said, be yourself and not somebody else. So we have all these issues in our society and we're not living those, we're not living it. All these issues in our society and we're not living in our society for ourselves. The prophet has given us instructions. By good common sense, we should know and have instructions. By good common sense, we should know better by now. But for some reason, we're not. There's no reason why, excuse me, it was some bug flying in front of me. There's no reason why we should not be supporting our own children, taking care of our own children, our own school, having our own house and all that. We can keep blaming the European over and over and over again, but we cannot continuously blame the European for us not doing what we're supposed to do. We can't keep blaming them for that. We cannot. All right, Shamika, the Empress. Greetings, sister. Greetings, sister. Greetings. And then the Adam Moore 7 said, chapter 45. Is that what you were saying? The divine order of the age? I think you would just tell me, did I say 55 instead of 45? Maybe you're correcting me. Let me just make sure. The divine order of the Asiatic nation is chapter, yes, 45. Did I say something different? If I did, please forgive me, Shukran, for correcting me, because that's what, we're supposed to do is assist one another. All right. It says, Arbon, the Europeans trick the world to want to be like them. Right? Well, they did, and they have all the things that a lot of us would like to have. The comfortability of the house, the car, the fiat, and those things. We would like to have those things. Not knowing that if we do what we need to do for one another, we can have those things. We don't need them to get it. But we have to continue to support one another. I also want to thank, take the time out. So we have like 8 minutes left to take the time out to those who have been donating. Blondell Sykes, Shukran. You've been constantly donating here and there for us, and we really appreciate those donations that are coming in. We can really use them. So Shukran for that. And, anyone else that would like to donate, I'm going to pull up the information on donations here. And so with Real Morse Talk at yahoo.com is where you can leave emails. And listen, if you didn't want to come on live or you didn't want to put something in the chat about what we said, but you still have some opinion on it, email us at realmorsetalk at yahoo.com. And we will read the information that you send to us live online. So please do that. We really need donations for our school. We really, really do need you all to keep the school open. And so with that, you can send donation to $ online schooling MC. That's where you can send that support. And it is Cash App. But for those who do have Cash App, I want to give you another alternative. We also have our humanitarian organization, the Daughters of Drew Ali. Okay. And you also can go to our store that's online at Circle7Publishing.com. And we have books there, herbs there, all types of things. It's a variety store. So you can go in there and find lots of things. Most of the time, people buy a lot of books from us and herbal supplements from there. So you can certainly go there and do that. And that would be circle7publishing.com. And let's go here. And you can also donate. See that donate red arrow, that yellow button? You can, so for those who do not have Cash App, a lot of you all say you do not do Cash App for whatever the reasons is. I do not judge. You can donate to More Science with gsk@theriabay.com. You can donate right there. You can purchase books from circle7publishing.com. All right. And again, our humanitarian organization, The Doors of Drew Ali, and also our online schooling for Moore's children. So listen, Moore's, and this is Real Moore's Talk. You can send us emails all the time, suggestions, information that you may have come up with. We're here. This is Real Moore's Talk. We want a platform here for us to be able to have the tough conversations. Because listen, no one wants to talk about Noble Drew Ali. They don't, because the prophet brought us information for us to have these conversations. He knew that we were going to have a time when we were going to have these conversations with each other. And sometimes some people just do not want to talk about it. But how do you solve anything if you do not talk about it? How do we discuss with one another how we feel about certain situations if we do not talk about it? If Madudi hadn't said how that made him feel when he was put in that situation, I would have never known how he felt. And I may not be having this conversation right now today at some point, but maybe not today. But I felt it was impertinent to have this conversation about what a mother should do if she has no support from the father, from family members, and she has to take care of her child. Because listen, by instinct, motherly instinct is survival, and that's to take care of your children. And so, and that this government that we have right now knows that our survival instincts are high right now, because they're trying to take everything that we fought for away from us. And I have to say, the people that died and fought for some of the things that we have today, some of the freedoms like being able to ride on a bus, the right to vote, to catch a train, to be able to purchase any car you want or any house you want, to be able to go to grocery stores in your neighborhoods, to be able to do things that you should feel like you should do naturally anyway. People died for you to have the right to do so. And so those people count. I do not want us to count out people just because they are not conscious right now of who they are, that their fight didn't matter, that their name didn't matter, that what they did didn't matter. And so if we can get the same fight from these people, to fight for our rights, to be able to take care of our families, then we should be much better off. So young sisters, I want to drop these few jewels for you all. I'm going to first go. It said the European, okay, and then that's right. Okay. All right. So I wanted to just check all the chats. So I want to give some jewels to my young brothers and my young sisters out there. I want to give jewels to you all. I want to make sure that you all can see the banners that I have up for making sure that you are able to donate to help us out. Our school is really, really dire need of assistance right now to be able to pay our instructors. And our instructors work for almost nothing. They work for little bit of change that we can provide for them. And we want to keep them working with us. We want to keep the school afloat. And we need your assistance to do that. So young brothers and sisters. So first, let me do my young brothers first. Young brothers, today you all grew up so handsome and tall and dark and wear your hair natural and bodies look so great and everything. You all look good. And so you're appealing to the sisters. But don't use the sisters. And don't be impregnating the sisters and getting this one pregnant, that one pregnant, have 3, 4 children that you cannot take care of at one time. And you don't obligate any of these sisters. And so now you got a whole bunch of children running around out there and you're not obligated to any of them. You have children running around or not being taken care of. Take care of your children. Mothers, young sisters, stop laying down having baby after baby with brother after brother. Some brothers are not mature enough. Some brothers do not even want children. And you know you're putting your life in jeopardy when you do that because you do not know what mindset he might be in, that he might try to abuse you or take your life or whatever. We see it all the time. This is happening all the time. So please stop putting yourself in those situations. We want to have children. We want to be fruitful and multiply, but we want to do it the right way. You want to do it with a caring individual who's standing there beside you, who wants to help raise your children and help you take care of them and be there for them and in part of their life. So we can stop being called single mothers because we have the highest rate of single mothers. And I have pulled this up really quickly. Let me see if I still have it up on my computer. I was doing some statistics about us being single mothers. And I want to see, did I still leave it up? Did I leave it up? Did I leave it up? Did I leave it up? Oh, I guess I did not leave it up. Oh, I had the breakdown, but I'll have to send it out to you. I did have the breakdown of where we were statistically as far as other women of other nationalities and having babies. Oh, okay. All right. So the statistics are all right. I found it. I have it on this document. It says approximately 47% of us in the United States were classified as single mothers in 2023. About 21% of all mothers in the United States were single mothers in 2023, making the percentage among Asiatic women of African descent doubled. Data on the children living arrangement showed that only 44.6% of Asiatic children live in two-parent homes in 2023. We have to change that narrative more. Several studies showed that 60 to 69% of Asiatic children of African descent have lived in single-parent households. The Center for American Progress reported that single mothers face significantly higher poverty rates and economic burdens while simultaneously living at a primary caregiver. Research also shows that women of African descent rely on extended family systems, including grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc. So, more is what I'm saying is that we have to change those numbers. So, I was glad I was able to hit that and bring it up because I had it on the document. Let's change that narrative, Morris. You've been on an episode of Real Morris Talk with me today, and it's been, this is one of those topics that nobody wants to talk about. Like I said, the prophet they don't want to talk about, but this has been a mother's burden raising children alone in the melanated Asiatic community. Morris, let's change the narrative. Let's change it. Let's change it. Not only that our children are going to wind up dating their brother or sister and not know it. Oh, yes, that has happened. And we can talk about that again. That has happened. Also, don't forget to donate to our causes, online school for more children, Doors of Drew Ali. You can also send us fiat if you do not, you can send fiat, to us, if you don't have Cash App, you can go ahead to donate here. More Science with GSK at therealbay.com. Purchase some books from us at circle7publishing.com. All right, Morris. It's been my absolute pleasure here on Real Morris Talk with you again. Episode 17. Yes, we're doing it, Morris. We're having these kind of conversations. Until next week on Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m., take care of yourselves and each other. This has been Real Morris Talk.